So, a recent congressional hearing about how the Justice Department handled the Epstein files, well, it turned into a real flashpoint. And not just for the politicians. The survivors were actually sitting right there in the room. We're going to dive into what happened, a story of a tense showdown, a shocking discovery about missing evidence, and a really powerful plea for justice that came out of it all. Okay, so this was the moment. Right in the middle of her testimony, a congresswoman turns to Attorney General Pam Bondi and challenges her, point blank. She gestures to the Epstein survivors in the audience and asks for a direct apology. You could feel the tension just skyrocket. Now, you have to understand, this wasn't your average stuffy hearing. The very people at the heart of this case were in the room, watching everything. They came to hear what the Attorney General had to say with their own ears. Their presence just made every single question and every answer feel so much more personal and, well, charged. And the response? Wow. It was pretty telling. Instead of even looking at the survivors, Attorney General Bondi just called the whole thing theatrics. She pointedly did not turn around. She literally kept her back to the very people she was just asked to acknowledge. And get this, it wasn't just a one-off thing. According to Jess Mackles, a survivor who was there, the Attorney General had three separate chances during that hearing to just turn and acknowledge them. And all 3 times, she chose not to. So this goes way beyond just political back and forth. It had a real human impact. We're actually going to hear directly from Jess Mackles about what it felt like to be in that room, watching this all go down. I mean, just listen to these words. That quote just captures the raw, emotional hit. For Mackles, what the Attorney General said wasn't just some political talking point. It was a painful gut punch of a reminder. She said it was so visceral, it sent chills down her spine. So, when Jess Mackles was listening to this testimony, here's what she heard. She heard a denial that trafficking was even the main issue. She heard an apology, but only for Epstein, the monster, not for the system. She heard the DOJ denying it caused any damage, making excuses for its mistakes instead of taking any real responsibility. From her seat, it didn't sound like an apology at all. But here's where the story takes a turn, and it gets even more disturbing than what happened in that hearing room. After it was all over, a much bigger problem came to light, something that points to serious issues within the official case files themselves. See, during the hearing, the Attorney General kept vaguely mentioning these pending investigations. So, of course, the natural follow-up question for Jess Mackles was, okay, have you or any other survivors actually been contacted for these so-called investigations? And her answer? Man, it could not have been more direct. A flat-out hell no. That one answer just reveals this huge gap between what's being said officially in Congress and what the survivors are actually experiencing. And this is where we get to the heart of a really, really troubling problem. Mackles revealed that her own official witness statement, the formal FBI document summarizing her interview, is just gone. It's missing from the record. We're not talking about a miscommunication. We're talking about a key piece of evidence that has vanished. So what even is a Form 302? Basically, think of it like the official meeting minutes for an FBI interview. It's the formal record of everything you told them. For this document to be missing is a huge deal. It means her testimony, including details about a potential co-conspirator, might not even officially exist in the case file. And you just have to look at the timeline to feel the frustration here. She first reached out to the FBI way back in September 2019. It then took a year and a half for an agent to finally take her official statement. And now that very statement and a bunch of related emails, they're just nowhere to be found. So, faced with all of this, a dismissive hearing, missing evidence, are the survivors just giving up? Not a chance. They are actively fighting back, and they're pushing for accountability on a whole bunch of different fronts. And this fight is happening everywhere. Take this, for example. Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer offered her full testimony in exchange for clemency. But the survivor's response, voiced by Mackles, was firm. She said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that convicted pedophiles shouldn't get a bigger platform than the actual victims of the crime, especially when they haven't even had a chance to speak to the administration. And they're not just pushing back in the media. They're trying to change the law itself. Survivors are now fighting for new federal legislation based on a law that worked in Virginia that's designed to tear down the legal walls that have blocked victims from getting justice for so long. So what would this new law actually do? Well, it boils down to two really crucial things. First, it would get rid of the statute of limitations for civil sexual abuse cases, which gives survivors more time to come forward. And second, it would close a major loophole, making it crystal clear that traffickers can't get away with it just because the abuse crossed state lines. So after all of this, the hearing, the missing files, the fight for a new law, it all really comes down to one single powerful message, a direct and incredibly simple plea to the people in charge. Jess Mackles was asked this very direct question. After everything you've been through, if you could finally sit down with the people at the top, what would you say? What would be your message? And her answer? It's just two words. Listen to us. That's it. It's not a demand for revenge. It's not a complicated legal argument. It's just a fundamental plea to be heard. And that message, it just cuts through all the noise, doesn't it? And that really leaves all of us with a pretty heavy question to think about. When the very systems that are supposed to protect people seem to fail them, when crucial evidence just disappears and leaders literally turn their backs, it forces us to ask, what does the fight for justice actually look like? What does it really require from all of us?